Your account balance is $25.52. To hear the charges for this call, press or say 2. To accept this call, press or say 5. To refuse this call will be recorded and subject to monitoring at any time. Thank you for using IC Solutions. You may begin speaking now.
I don't consent to recording my call except by Mr. Rudy.
So yeah, Mike, they're trying to shut me down. They've already penalized my YouTube channel. My internet went down earlier today, but we found a way around that. I don't know if they did that or not, but they're definitely trying to suppress me getting a message out that there are many innocent political prisoners in prison. I'm not going to stop that, but I've been at this 4 years, and it's been a little bit of a drain on our household too. I'm not complaining. I mean, you're the one who's in prison, right? I'm not. I'm going to go out and enjoy dinner tonight with my wife. But here's what I'm trying to say: I'm tired of begging people to do the right thing. I'm tired of trying to reach out to alternative media, the Daniel Brighamans, the Vincent Forellis, the whoever's. I mean, I'll send it to them and I'll say, here's another innocent man in prison. We got a Montana Freeman who spent 21 years in prison. We got, Bryce Matthew Quellar is a young man who's 25 years old. He made one YouTube video, Mike. He made one YouTube video, and he said if we ever get into a civil war, he's going to use his firearms to protect himself against Satanists and homos in government. Interpol called the Las Vegas Police Department, and now he's sitting in a maximum security prison. Nobody freaking cares, and the man had over 125 million views on YouTube. And so it's happening all around us, and I'm going to continue to, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to continue to put the message out there. As long as you call me, I'll get the message out. But I'm just telling you. Yep.
Do you have a PayPal link on your site where people can donate to you to help you fund your operation?
There is, and there's been a few donations, maybe $200 total since our inception. But I'm not going to press that, right? The Lord has blessed me with a good job, and I've got a little bit of savings saved up. But eventually, that savings will run out since I lost my job. But I never get involved in the raising of money. I leave that to other people. I'm simply like a loud, obnoxious voice, and I try to make people pay attention to me, but people don't want to hear me, I guess, and so I just keep being loud and obnoxious, and eventually they'll ignore what's going on. I don't know.
I heard about you on the Joyce Riley show, The Power Hour, and I don't know if it was you that was on The Power Hour or if it was Kent Hovine that talked about you and or Mr. Hansen, but that's how we heard about you, and so that's how we found you, through the Power Hour.
Well, and Joyce was a powerful warrior. She recognized, because she would communicate with me too before the show, and she recognized what was happening to these political prisoners was wrong, and she was willing to devote a large portion of her show to exposing it. And praise God for Joyce, but she's gone on to glory now, right? And so one of the few people that we had in our team, that has gone on.
Yeah, and the people need to realize is that you're going to be a slave or you're going to be a free man. If you're going to be a free American, you've got to stand up and speak out against corrupt government, because it's destroying us. It's destroying one by one. Anybody that's speaking out, trying to wake up the masses, is being destroyed. And, Mrs. Parsons and I have worked a lifetime doing it by the book, playing by the rules, paying everything that we're required to pay every time. Never missed a beat, always doing everything by the book. And when people start shooting at us and killing our pets, and we go to the, quote, authorities, and they won't do anything about it because it's an old boy network and certain people get special treatment, well, that's not acceptable in a country where we're supposed to have due process and equal access under the law. And when they decide to threaten and prosecute me and send me to prison for exposing that the government's not doing their job and they're rigging the elections, then that. And now my wife, who's been with the company 25 years as electrical design engineer, has lost her job, and now she's lost her freedom. And, this is not America.
Yeah.
I don't know these people not willing to stand up for their fellow man. There were the volunteers of Tennessee that went down to the Alamo against overwhelming odds because it was the right thing to do and they were innocent people. I'm not looking at a battle. I'm looking at people spreading the word and exposing it and talking about it. All I hear on the radio is Roy Moore and this election, and do we vote for this guy even though he might have had, dated a girl that was very young, or do we, go for somebody who is a, Democrat who is pro-homosexual, pro-abortion, and pro-big, institutionalized government? What they fear the most, they don't care about his sex life. They care that he's not part of the establishment. That's what scares the heck out of these people, is that he's not one of them, he's not one of those blue bloods, and he's liable not to vote for bigger and better government. He's liable to vote to shut stuff down, and they can't have that because they've got to be in charge of this big bureaucracy called United States government and all these alphabet corporations that they run.
No, you're right. You're right, Mike. Yeah, that's you're absolutely right. There was something I was going to mention. I can't remember what it was right now. There was a letter. Your wife said when she was in court today that the judge, her name is Cheryl H. Lippman, mentioned my letter. But even though I made a video about that, your wife told me not to mail it. She didn't think it would be helpful, and so I've got it in front of me. But yet the judge referenced the letter from me, so I was like, I don't remember mailing two of them. I mean, I don't remember having two of them, so. It's just very confusing to me how
maybe she said supporters.
Oh, maybe she said supporters. I'll have to check. I'll check with Pat then.
Went.
Oh, there was a guy who watched our YouTube channel and did mail the judge, but the judge made a comment that he's discounted the letter from Will Cullum, who's a friend of mine, because she didn't feel like he knew your wife well enough to contribute to the sentencing phase. They do take into consideration usually when the defendant is flooded with letters of support. It can make a difference.
What did the letter say? Just in short, what did the letter say?
Well, I don't know what Will Cullum wrote, but if it was anything like what I requested people, it would be like, this is an innocent lady, and that, it probably referenced some books. There's several books that we have identified on Amazon that identify FBI entrapment techniques and how it's completely out of control in America, and that needs to be reined in. One of them is The Terror Factory. There's also documentaries put together. We just watched one last night. As a matter of fact, this guy named Ali Khalifa Akili was on the National Public Broadcasting show just a year or so ago, and he's also had a documentary made about him. And the Muslim community is coming together in a very, very strong way. I mean, they're really outshining the Christian community because they have done numerous documentaries, and there's been numerous books written about how FBI is entrapping Muslims on domestic terrorism, when in actuality there was no intention whatsoever to hurt anybody. And because I'm a Christian, even though I don't adhere to the Muslim religion at all, I got to stand up and say the Muslims are right. They are entrapped, and and we can't allow it to happen in the Muslim community. We can't allow it to happen in the Mormon community, and we dang sure can't allow it to happen in the Christian community. But this government has gone completely off the rails. So I would imagine his letter probably reminded the judge that we know what's going on, and we know the FBI is entrapping people, and we would ask for a lighter sentence and to let Mrs. Parsons go. I don't know the exact wording of the letter, but if I know Will, it was something along those lines.
Did the judge reference my letter at all? Did she even get it?
Did Pat mention anything about the letter that was written by Mike?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. My wife said she thinks so. So
because the letter that I wrote, and if you can get Pat to scan it and email you a copy, but I referenced that the court lacks jurisdiction. She is the wife of an ambassador of another country, and under the Vienna Convention, Article 31, we are immune from prosecution from the civil, criminal, and administrative jurisdictions of every country. And they may not want to recognize the Chilcote Nation's status as a country, but they are, in fact, a country. Canada recognizes them. There's Supreme Court rulings where they've got the, Vancouver or British Columbia versus the Chilcote Nation, or Chilcote Nation versus British Columbia. That means they recognize them as, and they cite that, this is an indigenous people. This is a country, sovereign nation. It's been there for over a millennia, long before Canada was even thought about. The Hudson Bay Compact is, what created Canada, a corporation. Canada is a corporation. It's a business. And so these people are the sovereign, hereditary, indigenous people of the land that own the land, and just because Canada moves in they never signed a treaty giving up anything. They still have the right to the land and everything, and they have the ability to appoint ambassadors and people to work within their governing structure, and that's what they did. They appointed me because of my ability to help them develop their infrastructure and their natural resources, and make money, get off the dole. And I had a logging company that had a timber deal with an international company in China that was going to purchase a large quantity of timber, close to $1 billion a year in timber exports, and it would definitely make every Chilcotan wealthy, as well as anybody working with them. It'd be like just a gold mine, because there's not that many people in the Chilcotin Nation, and when you figure that the average Chilcotin can make $60,000 working, and then they're going to split probably $300,000 or $300 million amongst the 30,000 people or whatever. I mean, it's pretty good payout.
Yeah.
They're going to be well taken care of, but it's their resources. And that's the concept that I'm approaching, is that you pay the resources revenue back to the people who own the resources, and that is the people. You only hire companies to do the work, and you pay them for the work that they do, but the proceeds of the resources go back to the owners.
No, that makes sense, Mike. One of the phrases that my wife repeated after she got off the phone and told me about the conversation with your wife is that the judge said that your wife needed to have respect for the law. And I kind of chuckled, and I thought to myself, if that ain't the pot calling the kettle black, I mean, these judges have no respect for the law whatsoever, and certainly the FBI and the Department of Justice has no respect for the law. And I think we both agree there's one of higher authority that will hold them accountable to the law one day.
Yeah. Well, we shouldn't have to wait and be stagnant and suffer in the process. They had a revolutionary war, I believe, to fight off tyrannical government. And if you read the Constitution in the state of Tennessee and every other state, there's usually around the first article, the power's with the people, the government's created for their benefit, and if the government ever becomes detrimental to that, it's the right and the duty of the people to alter or abolish the government by any means they see fit. Because the government is now predatory, I'm all supportive of popping the hood and pulling the engine out and rebuilding it, and instead of scrapping the whole engine. But if it takes scrapping the whole engine, then that's what it takes. Because at the end of the day, we have an inherent right to be left the heck alone, and that's all Mrs. Parsons and I ever wanted, was just to be left alone. And we weren't bothering anybody; they were attacking us, and because of us reporting the attacks and wanting the government to do their job, we've been crucified.
Yeah. Schaefer was put in prison for the primary reason he was put in prison was because he believed the Second Amendment was put in the Constitution and given to us to put a check on government tyranny. He said the reason that we have the Second Amendment is specifically to put a check on government tyranny, and they're trying to get rid of anybody that holds that belief. If you believe that, then they want to put you in prison.
But see, that's not a belief. I mean, if you look at the glass in your window and say, okay, I can see through that. That's not a belief. That's a fact.
Right. It's a fact.
If you do your research, read the Federalist Papers and read the documents and the letters that were written when they were crafting that Constitution, and that Bill of Rights was, after the fact. The Constitution didn't have that at all. It was added because there are certain people in certain states that were not going to sign that Constitution unless it had it in there, because it was a check and balance on the government, because they just come out of a Revolutionary War and they didn't want to have to, go through it again.
Well, let me rephrase it. If you promote that fact that the Second Amendment is a check on government tyranny, then they're looking to silence. They're looking to silence you.
But see, you were right. They're going to refer to it as a belief.
Yeah.
So it'd be a fact. They'll say that's your belief.
Yeah. No,
that's what they want to make. They want to convert truth and facts into beliefs.
Yeah. No, you're right, and not only that, but illegal beliefs. We got men sitting in prison with no victims, like you, right? Simply because of the belief systems they hold. But
I've never even been served, never been before a judge, nothing. Don't know why I'm here. And normally you're supposed to be taken before a judge and have an arraignment and have a bond hearing. Where's all that?
Yeah.
The U.S. Marshal claims I'm a sovereign citizen. I asked these people here, what is a sovereign citizen? Well, nobody will answer that. They just know they don't like it.
Yeah, they've been trained from the higher ups that is a domestic terrorist.
They've been brainwashed. They've been drinking the Kool-Aid for too long.
Yeah.
And, God bless you for your ministry. Pray for us, please. I don't know when I can call the missus. I guess until she's able to put money on the phone, I won't be able to reach her. But
well, we'll stay in contact, Mike, and we'll try to have a game plan going forward to constantly put out the truth until the good Lord takes us home. But we're going to be faithful to the Lord.
She needs some legal help that'll stand up and fight for her right now and reverse this right now before it gets any further down the road. Stop.
Okay, that was Mike. You heard his last few words before they cut him off. She needs some legal help to help her out. Okay, that's not me, right? Because I absolutely loathe lawyers, and I think you guys know that. So if anybody wants to get this to some Christian lawyer, if there is such a thing, we got innocent men and women going to prison.